Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that could have serious consequences for the United States economy. The combination of high oil prices and a potential diplomatic fallout with major trading partners like Canada and Mexico. With escalating tariff wars and rising fuel costs, this issue has huge implications for businesses, consumers, and the broader economy. So let's break it all down. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more insights. Let's start with the basics. Oil plays a huge role in the United States economy. It's not just about gas prices at the pump. It impacts industries ranging from transportation to manufacturing to agriculture. The United States is also deeply integrated with its North American neighbors, Canada and Mexico, both as trading partners and oil suppliers. Canada is the United States' largest foreign oil supplier, and Mexico is a key player in manufacturing and exports. So when high oil prices and trade tensions come into play, it's not just about one sector, it affects the entire economy. In the short term, high oil prices will lead to higher costs for businesses and consumers. With oil prices spiking, gasoline prices go up, making it more expensive to travel, commute, and transport goods. This hits businesses hard. For example, shipping companies will see higher fuel costs, which they'll pass on to consumers in the form of higher prices for goods. Everything from food to electronics could see a price bump, and industries like airlines, trucking, and delivery services will feel the squeeze with increased operating costs that could result in fewer flights or delayed deliveries. But there's more. If the US enters a tariff war with Canada and Mexico, trade could slow down dramatically. With tariffs on goods like steel, machinery, or even agricultural products, we might see higher prices on everything from cars to construction materials to groceries. All of this means inflationary pressure. The cost of living goes up as businesses pass their higher costs on to consumers. And for the average American, this could mean tightening budgets and a potential drop in consumer spending. Now let's look at the long-term effects. If high oil prices and tariff wars continue, the impact on the United States economy could be even more severe. First, there's the potential for an economic slowdown. With rising costs and tariffs disrupting trade, businesses may find it harder to operate profitably. This could lead to job cuts, especially in sectors that depend on oil, transportation, and cross-border trade. The manufacturing sector, already under pressure from global competition, could be hit especially hard. Here's where it gets tricky. Manufacturing costs for United States companies could go up as raw materials from Canada and Mexico get more expensive due to tariffs. This could push companies to move production overseas to cut costs, leading to job losses here at home. One possible outcome is that companies might look to automate more of their operations to save on labor costs. While automation can boost productivity, it could lead to long-term job displacement and reduced income for certain workers. Another important factor is the potential for a recession. If prices continue to rise and wages don't keep up, consumer confidence could take a hit. People may stop spending as much, leading to reduced demand for goods and services. A slowdown in consumer spending can have a ripple effect throughout the economy. With high oil prices affecting everything from transportation to heating and tariffs making imported goods more expensive, we could see a stagnation of economic growth. That means a potential rise in unemployment, slower wage growth, and even less investment in the economy. Let's not forget the global implications. If tariffs escalate with Canada and Mexico, the United States could also face retaliation from these countries, impacting sectors like agriculture, automotive, and tech. Beyond trade, the diplomatic fallout could create instability in global markets. If tensions rise with major oil producers or neighboring countries, it could lead to a reduction in foreign investments, especially from countries like Canada and Mexico, which are key trade partners. This also means that the US dollar might weaken and inflation could worsen. Global investors might pull back, fearing that the US economy is becoming less stable and that could set the stage for a longer-term economic decline. So to sum it up, high oil prices and tariff wars with major trading partners like Canada and Mexico could lead to immediate inflation, economic disruptions, and potentially a long-term slowdown in the US economy. Businesses would face higher costs, consumers would pay more for goods, and the country could face an economic downturn if these issues aren't addressed. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think the US can weather these economic storms, or do you foresee deeper issues? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights on economic topics. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a complex and often debated issue: the impact of mass deportation of illegal immigrants on the US economy, specifically how it affects labor costs, both in the short and long run. This is a topic that has real consequences for businesses, workers, and the economy as a whole, so let's break it down. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new here. To understand the effects, we need to first understand the role of illegal immigrants in the US labor market. Estimates suggest that over 10 million undocumented immigrants live in the US, and many are a vital part of industries like agriculture, construction, and hospitality. These workers often take on jobs that are low-paying, physically demanding, and less likely to be filled by native-born Americans. In the short term, mass deportations would lead to immediate labor shortages in industries that rely heavily on immigrant workers. With fewer workers available, employers would struggle to fill these positions, especially in industries like farming, where planting and harvesting have strict timelines. These shortages lead to increased competition for workers, which drives wages up. In the short term, this means higher labor costs for businesses. For example, farmers may need to offer higher pay to attract workers, or construction companies might have to raise wages to keep their teams on projects. But here's the kicker: as wages rise, businesses will pass these higher costs on to consumers. So, prices for food, construction, and other goods and services dependent on immigrant labor will likely go up. This could lead to inflationary pressures. Now let's look at the long-term effects. While the short-term impact might be a spike in wages and prices, the long-term impact could be much more profound. In the long run, businesses and industries that rely heavily on immigrant labor might look to adapt. One solution is automation. For example, agricultural industries might invest in automated harvesting machines, and construction companies could turn to robotic technologies to replace human workers. But while automation could reduce the need for labor, it also has its drawbacks. Not all businesses have the capital to invest in these technologies, and it could take years for full implementation. Plus, automation doesn't solve the problem of labor shortages in sectors like healthcare and hospitality. In industries like healthcare and hospitality, the shortage of workers could lead to a reduction in services. Hospitals and nursing homes might struggle to find enough caregivers, and restaurants could face limited hours or closures. This would hurt the economy by reducing the availability of services and potentially pushing up costs. Long-term labor shortages could also result in slower economic growth. The US economy relies on a steady supply of workers to drive consumption and productivity. If key industries are disrupted, overall economic output could decline. On top of the direct economic impacts, there are social considerations. For example, immigrants contribute to the economy in ways that go beyond just labor. They pay taxes, contribute to Social Security, and support local businesses as consumers. Mass deportation could shrink the tax base, affecting local governments and social services. This could result in cuts to public programs, and those left behind might bear the brunt of the economic consequences. And while the goal of deportation is often framed as a way to reduce government spending, it might actually create new challenges in the form of higher labor costs, inflation, and reduced productivity. So, there you have it. The mass deportation of illegal immigrants could have profound effects on labor costs in the United States economy. In the short term, we're looking at higher wages, higher prices, and inflationary pressures. In the long term, we might see automation, service disruptions, and slower economic growth. What do you think? Do you agree with this analysis, or do you see other factors at play? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who might find it interesting. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Okay, folks, let's talk about something we all care about, our wallets. More specifically, why is everything getting so darn expensive? I'm talking about that new phone you've been eyeing, that avocado toast you love so much. Even your basic groceries seem to be costing an arm and a leg these days. Now, you might have heard whispers of something called tariff wars going around. And trust me, it's not as exciting as it sounds. It's more like a slow burn, a creeping sense of dread as you watch the price tags at the store slowly climb higher and higher. We're talking about those everyday items that we all rely on, suddenly becoming luxury items. So, buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into the world of tariffs, trade wars, and what it all means for your bank account. Get ready for some economics, but don't worry, I promise to keep it as painless as possible.
Alright people, let's break down this whole tariff thing. What are they? Basically, tariffs are like taxes on products coming from other countries. Think of them as little border walls. But instead of stopping people, they're jacking up prices on your favorite goods. So, let's say you're the US and you're slapping a tariff on, I don't know, washing machines from China. Suddenly, those Chinese washing machines just got a whole lot more expensive to import. Now, the companies bringing them in, they're not going to just eat that cost. They're going to pass it right along to you, the consumer. And that, my friends, is how you get a price hike on your next washing machine. It's like a game of hot potato. But instead of a potato, it's your hard-earned cash. And nobody wants to get stuck holding it.
Let's get specific, shall we? Like, share and subscribe to our channel for more social and economic policy analysis information. Let's talk about something near and dear to all our hearts, electronics. Remember that shiny new phone you've been saving up for? Yeah, well, tariffs are making it pricier. See, a lot of those components, those tiny little chips and screens that make your phone smart, they come from guess where? China. And with these tariff wars raging, those components are getting hit with extra costs. So, when those parts get more expensive, guess what? You guessed it, the price of your new phone goes up too. And it's not just phones, folks. We're talking laptops, TVs, even those fancy smart refrigerators that can order groceries for you. It's enough to make you want to go back to a flip phone and a landline.
Okay, so maybe you're not a tech geek. Maybe you can live without the latest gadget. But guess what? These tariffs, they're coming for your clothes and food too. Think about it. Those jeans you love could be made with cotton from, say, Mexico. And those avocados on your toast? Yeah, those often come from Mexico too.
And what did we say about tariffs? They're like little price-hiking ninjas, sneaking into your shopping cart and messing with your budget. Suddenly that casual Friday outfit just got a whole lot more expensive. And don't even get me started on guacamole. It's practically a luxury item these days, thanks tariffs.
Section 5, the long game inflation and the supply chain shuffle. Now hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to get a little bit economics-y here. See, these tariffs, they're not just about individual products getting more expensive, they can mess with the whole darn system. Think about it, when prices go up across the board, that's called inflation. And inflation is like a sneaky tax that eats away at your savings. Suddenly your dollar doesn't buy as much as it used to, and then there's the supply chain shuffle. See, businesses, they're always trying to find the cheapest and most efficient way to get you your stuff. But when you throw tariffs into the mix, it disrupts everything. Companies might have to find new suppliers, which can be costly and time-consuming. It's chaos, I tell ya.
Section 6. Jobs, winners and losers in the tariff war. Now, some folks will tell you that tariffs are good for jobs. And sure, in some cases they can be. For example, if those washing machines are suddenly more expensive to import from China, maybe that means more people in the US will buy American-made washing machines. And that could lead to more jobs in US factories. But here's the catch. It's not always that simple. See, those tariffs can also hurt jobs. Remember those avocados from Mexico? Well, if those tariffs make them too expensive, maybe people stop buying them. And then the farmers in Mexico who rely on selling those avocados, they lose their jobs. And the people who work in the shipping and packaging industries, they could lose their jobs too. It's a whole domino effect.
Section 7, economic growth, a boost or a bust. Okay, last bit of economics, I promise. So the whole point of an economy is to grow, right? We want more jobs, more businesses, more money flowing around. But these tariffs, they can actually slow down economic growth. Think about it. When prices go up, people buy less stuff. And when people buy less stuff, businesses suffer. And when businesses suffer, well, you get the picture. It's a vicious cycle. Now, some folks argue that tariffs can protect domestic industries and make them more competitive in the long run. But others say that they just lead to higher prices and hurt consumers in the process. It's a gamble, and it's not always clear who comes out on top.
Section 8. The big picture, how tariffs touch your everyday life. So, we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about tariffs, inflation, supply chains, jobs, economic growth. It's enough to make your head spin, right? But here's the bottom line. These aren't just abstract economic concepts. They have real-world consequences for everyday people like you and me. They affect how much we pay for the things we need and want. They affect our jobs, our businesses, and our overall financial well-being. So, the next time you're at the store and you see that the price of your favorite coffee has gone up, or that new TV you've been eyeing is suddenly out of your budget, remember those tariffs, those little taxes that are quietly messing with your life? Section 9, the future of prices, what happens next? The million-dollar question is, what happens next? Will these tariff wars continue? Will prices keep going up? Honestly, folks, I'm not a fortune teller. Nobody knows for sure what the future holds. But what we do know is this. These tariffs, they're a big deal. They have the potential to reshape the global economy and impact all of our lives. So, stay informed, stay engaged, and maybe start stocking up on those non-perishable goods. Just in case. Like, share and subscribe to our channel for more social and economic policy analysis information. Section 10. The ripple effect on U.S. consumers. Let's dive into how these tariff wars will affect you, the U.S. consumer. First off, get ready for increased prices on everyday goods. From groceries to gadgets, those extra costs from tariffs are often passed down to you. Imagine paying more for your morning coffee, your kids' school supplies, or even your favorite streaming device. Yep, it's all going to cost more. But it doesn't stop there. Potential job losses loom on the horizon, especially in industries reliant on imported materials. Think about auto manufacturing, electronics, and even agriculture. Businesses facing higher costs may cut back on hiring or worse, lay off workers to stay afloat. That means fewer job opportunities and more economic uncertainty. And let's talk about the overall economic impact. Higher prices and job losses can lead to reduced consumer spending. When people tighten their belts, it affects everything from local shops to big retailers. This economic slowdown can ripple through the economy, leading to slower growth and potentially even a recession. So what can you do? Stay informed, be mindful of your spending, and support local businesses when you can. Understanding the impact of these tariffs helps you make better choices and navigate these challenging times. It's also wise to look for discounts and shop smartly to stretch your dollar further. Engage with your community and participate in local events to stay connected and informed. Utilize budgeting tools and plan your expenses to manage your finances effectively. Staying updated on economic news and seeking professional advice can also help you navigate these turbulent times. Remember, being proactive and informed is key to weathering the impact of tariff wars on your wallet. Understanding the impact of these tariffs helps you make better choices and navigate these challenging times. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more social and economic policy analysis information. What's going on, everybody? It's Francis Adeosani, and welcome back to the channel. The stock market can be a fickle beast, especially when we factor in things like politics. But today, we're diving deep into the top 5 industries that have thrived under President Trump's administration. Whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out, understanding how the political landscape shapes the market is key to making smart investment decisions. Now, under President Trump, we saw some serious policy changes and market trends that have had a massive impact on several sectors. From tax cuts to deregulation, it's been a wild ride. So the question is, which industries have come out on top? Which ones are poised for continued growth even after the election cycle? That's what we're here to find out. We're breaking down the 5 best industries to invest in based on President Trump's policies and their long-term potential. We'll cover everything from the impact of tax cuts to deregulation and how these factors have influenced the investment landscape. So, are you guys ready to dive in? Let's get started. Our first stop on the road to investment success: technology and innovation. Now, you don't need me to tell you that tech has been booming for years now, but under President Trump, we saw this sector kick into overdrive. Think about it. Advancements in artificial intelligence, cloud computing, cybersecurity, and 5G technology, all happening under his watch. And guess what? Trump's administration, for the most part, has been pretty friendly towards tech companies. Sure, there were a few hiccups here and there, especially when it came to international trade, but overall, it's been a good time to be in tech. One of the biggest game changers for the tech industry was the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which slashed the corporate tax rate to a cool 21%. I mean, let's be real, who doesn't love lower taxes, right? This move was like giving tech companies a massive cash infusion, allowing them to pump even more money into research and development, and that, my friends, is the fuel that drives innovation. But it's not just about the tax breaks. The demand for tech services has been skyrocketing. We're talking about a global shift towards remote work, an increasing reliance on digital services, and the ever-present need for data protection, all of which spell big bucks for tech companies. Just look at the giants like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. Their growth has been explosive. But here's the thing, it's not just the big players that are winning. Smaller, more nimble tech firms are also perfectly positioned to capitalize on these trends. And that's what makes the tech industry so exciting. It's a sector ripe with opportunity, whether you're looking to invest in established giants or bet on the next big disruptor. Now, let's talk about some specific areas within tech that are particularly hot right now. AI, cloud computing, and cybersecurity are expected to see massive growth in the coming years. Why? Because they're at the forefront of the digital revolution. AI is changing the way we live and work, cloud computing is making it easier than ever to store and access data, and cybersecurity is more important than ever in our increasingly interconnected world. So if you're looking for an industry with long-term growth potential, tech is definitely worth a closer look. And with Trump's policies creating a favorable environment for tech companies, now could be the perfect time to jump in. Just remember, as with any investment, it's important to do your research, diversify your portfolio, and never invest more than you can afford to lose. All right, moving on to an industry that's near and dear to President Trump's heart, the energy sector. Now, love him or hate him, you can't deny that Trump has made energy a cornerstone of his economic agenda. Remember all the talk about energy independence? That was Trump's way of saying he wanted the US to be a global energy powerhouse. And to make that happen, he went all in on domestic energy production, particularly oil and natural gas. Now I know what you're thinking, but Graham, what about climate change? What about renewable energy? And you're right, those are important considerations. While Trump may have rolled back some Obama-era environmental regulations and championed fossil fuels, renewable energy hasn't exactly been left out in the cold. In fact, even with Trump's focus on traditional energy sources, renewable energy has continued to attract major investments. Why? Because the global push for cleaner energy solutions is only getting stronger. Countries around the world are setting ambitious renewable energy targets, and companies are lining up to meet that demand. Here in the US, states like California and New York are leading the charge towards a greener future, with aggressive goals for renewable energy adoption. And that's creating huge opportunities for companies operating in the solar, wind, and energy storage sectors. So, whether you're looking to invest in the traditional energy giants or the up-and-coming renewable energy players, the energy sector has something to offer everyone. And with Trump's policies favoring domestic energy production, there's potential for growth on both sides of the aisle. Now let's talk about some specific companies that are worth keeping an eye on. On the traditional energy side, you've got companies like ExxonMobil, Chevron, and ConocoPhillips. These are the big dogs of the oil and gas industry, and they've benefited immensely from Trump's policies. But if you're looking for something a little greener, there are plenty of exciting options as well. NextEra Energy, Duke Energy, and First Solar are all making big moves in the renewable energy space, and they're well positioned for continued growth. So, whether you're a seasoned energy investor or just starting out, the key is to do your research and find companies that align with your investment goals and risk tolerance. And remember, the energy sector is constantly evolving, so it's important to stay up to date on the latest trends and developments. Chapter 3. Alright, let's talk about an industry that President Trump knows a thing or two about: real estate. Now we all know Trump built his empire in real estate, so it's no surprise that this sector saw some major action during his presidency. While Trump's policies were primarily focused on juicing up the economy through things like tax cuts and deregulation, the housing and commercial real estate markets also got a nice boost along the way. One of the biggest gifts Trump gave to real estate investors was the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which we talked about earlier. This bad boy didn't just benefit tech companies, it also put a big smile on the faces of real estate moguls across the country. Why? Because it lowered taxes for real estate investors and made depreciation allowances even more generous. And that, my friends, makes investing in real estate, whether it's residential or commercial, even more appealing. But it wasn't just about the tax breaks. Trump's love for deregulation also spilled over into the real estate world, making it easier for developers to get projects off the ground. We're talking about less red tape, faster approvals, and a whole lot less hassle for those looking to build. And this was especially noticeable in major metropolitan areas, where the demand for new housing, office space, and industrial facilities was through the roof. We saw new developments popping up left and right, fueled by Trump's pro-growth policies. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the real estate market can be a bit of a roller coaster ride. Interest rates have been on the rise, which can sometimes put a damper on things, but here's the thing, the demand for real estate is still there. People need places to live, work, and play, and that's not gonna change anytime soon. So if you're looking for a long-term investment that has the potential to generate both income and appreciation, real estate is definitely worth considering. Just remember, location is key. Do your due diligence, find properties in areas with strong fundamentals, and you'll be well on your way to building your own real estate empire. Chapter 4. Alright, let's move on to an industry that's always in the news: healthcare. Now, healthcare is a massive sector, and it's been a hot topic of debate throughout Trump's presidency. While Trump's healthcare policies were mainly focused on dismantling the Affordable Care Act, ACA, and pushing for a more market-driven system, there's one area within healthcare that thrived under his watch: pharmaceuticals and biotech. Now I know what you're thinking, pharma? Those guys are always jacking up prices, and you're not wrong. But here's the thing, people need medicine, and that's not going to change anytime soon. Plus, the pharmaceutical and biotech industries are constantly innovating, developing new treatments and cures for some of the world's most challenging diseases. And that's where the real opportunity lies. Trump's emphasis on deregulation and tax cuts was like music to the ears of pharmaceutical companies. They were able to streamline their operations, boost their profits, and pour even more money into research and development. And the big boys like Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and Merck, they were laughing all the way to the bank. But it wasn't just the giants that were raking it in. Emerging biotech companies, especially those focused on cutting-edge areas like gene therapy, cancer research, and treatments for chronic diseases, also saw massive growth during Trump's presidency. Now, investing in healthcare can be tricky. It's a complex industry with a lot of moving parts. But if you're looking for an industry with long-term growth potential, healthcare is definitely worth a closer look. Just remember, it's important to do your research, understand the risks, and diversify your portfolio. And if you're not comfortable picking individual stocks, you can always invest in healthcare ETFs, which offer a basket of stocks in the sector. Chapter 5. Alright, last but not least, let's talk about an industry that's always been a big winner during Republican administrations: defense and aerospace. Now, Trump made no secret of his desire to beef up the US military, and that meant opening up the coffers and showering defense contractors with cash. We're talking about a massive increase in defense spending, which translated into some seriously lucrative contracts for companies in the defense and aerospace industries. And the big players like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Boeing, they were like kids in a candy store. These companies are responsible for building everything from fighter jets and drones to missiles and satellites, and they were more than happy to oblige Trump's request for a stronger military. But it wasn't just about traditional military hardware. Trump's focus on modernizing the military also created opportunities for tech companies that specialize in areas like artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and space exploration. Speaking of space, this is another area where we saw significant growth during Trump's presidency. Companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin, led by billionaire entrepreneurs Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos respectively, were making history with their ambitious plans to colonize Mars and make space tourism a reality. Now, investing in the defense and aerospace industries is not for the faint of heart. These companies are often subject to government whims, and their fortunes can change overnight depending on who's in the White House and what conflicts are brewing around the world. But if you're comfortable with a little bit of volatility and you're looking for an industry with the potential for outsized returns, defense and aerospace could be right up your alley. Just remember, as with any investment, it's important to do your research, understand the risks, and diversify your portfolio. So there you have it, the 5 industries that thrived under President Trump's administration. From tech and energy to real estate, healthcare, and defense, these sectors not only benefited from Trump's policies, but are also well-positioned for continued growth in the years to come. Remember, while these industries offer great potential, it's crucial to conduct your own research and maybe even have a chat with a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. The market can be unpredictable, and you want to make sure you're making smart moves. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest insights. Let us know in the comments, what industries are you most excited about right now? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Hello and welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we're diving deep into the fate of the hospitality industry in the United States during Donald Trump's presidency, particularly focusing on how his administration's immigration policies, including the massive deportation of employees, impacted one of the country's most vital sectors. From luxury resorts to local diners, and even to the service staff that make airports run smoothly, the hospitality industry relies heavily on immigrant labor. But when Donald Trump took office in 2017, his stance on immigration led to a series of policies that drastically altered the landscape for both workers and businesses. First, let's take a step back and understand the deep ties between the hospitality industry and immigrant labor. According to a 2016 report by the American Hotel and Lodging Association, immigrants account for about 25% of the workforce in the hotel industry alone, and that number is even higher in cities like New York, Miami, and Los Angeles. When President Donald Trump took office, he made it clear that one of his top priorities was to curb illegal immigration into the U.S. This led to the implementation of a range of policies focused on enforcing stricter immigration laws and increasing deportations. By 2018, Trump's zero-tolerance policy for undocumented immigrants led to a significant uptick in deportations, with more than 250,000 people removed from the U.S. in just 1 year. For the hospitality industry, this had a profound effect. Now, let's talk about the impact of these policies on the hospitality industry. The hospitality sector has been one of the hardest hit by these changes. Many businesses, especially smaller hotels, restaurants, and resorts, rely on immigrant workers to fill essential positions such as housekeepers, chefs, bartenders, and maintenance staff. These workers are the backbone of the industry, ensuring smooth operations and high-quality service.
We've always depended on immigrant labor, particularly in entry-level and seasonal positions. These roles are crucial for maintaining the day-to-day functions of our establishments, especially during peak seasons. With these new policies, a lot of our workers were either detained or deported, and it created a labor shortage that we couldn't easily fill. This shortage has led to reduced services, longer wait times, and a significant drop in customer satisfaction.
The labor shortage created by the deportations and the fear of more raids led to a number of negative consequences. For some businesses, it meant having to cut back on services, reduce hours, or even close parts of their operations. Others, like luxury resorts and upscale restaurants, had to dramatically raise wages to try and attract workers from a much smaller pool. With fewer workers available and increased competition for those who were eligible to work, wages in certain areas of the hospitality industry began to rise. In some cases, this was a much-needed shift, especially for those workers who remained in the industry, but it also increased operating costs for businesses, especially small mom-and-pop establishments. Despite the rising wages, the long-term effects on the hospitality industry were clear. The loss of so many workers created gaps that were difficult to fill. Business owners had to adapt quickly, looking for alternatives like automation or using more non-immigrant labor. But the hospitality industry as a whole has never been able to fully recover from the impact of these policies. Fast forward to today, the effects of Trump's immigration policies are still felt throughout the hospitality industry. Hotels and restaurants are particularly hard hit, with many establishments struggling to fill positions and maintain service levels. Businesses continue to struggle with finding enough workers, often resorting to hiring temporary staff or reducing hours of operation to cope with the shortage. And many immigrants are still in limbo, dealing with the aftermath of deportation or uncertain status in the U.S. This has created a climate of fear and instability for many families.
The stress of not knowing whether you'll be able to stay or keep your job, it's been hard. Every day is filled with anxiety and uncertainty. But we've kept fighting and we're seeing more support from the community. People are coming together to advocate for fair treatment and better policies.
As of now, the Biden administration has attempted to reverse some of these policies, with efforts to ease deportations and provide a more humane approach to immigration. But the scars left on the hospitality sector remain. Will the industry fully recover? Only time will tell. Ultimately, the massive deportations and tightening of immigration laws under President Trump's administration revealed the vulnerabilities of industries that depend on immigrant labor. While some businesses have adjusted, the long-term effects of those policies continue to reverberate throughout the hospitality sector. In 2025, Donald Trump introduced a series of stringent deportation measures targeting undocumented immigrants. These policies have had immediate and profound effects on the hospitality industry, which was already grappling with labor shortages. The new wave of deportation policies has sent shockwaves through the industry, creating a ripple effect that has impacted not just businesses but also the lives of countless workers and their families. The new measures included increased ICE raids, expedited deportation processes, and stricter penalties for businesses employing undocumented workers. The hospitality sector, heavily reliant on immigrant labor, has been particularly hard hit. These policies have led to a significant reduction in the workforce, leaving many businesses struggling to operate at full capacity. The fear of raids and deportations has also created a climate of anxiety and uncertainty among workers, further exacerbating the labor shortage. To understand the immediate impact, we spoke with industry experts, hotel managers, and affected workers. Their stories paint a grim picture of an industry in crisis. Many workers have been forced to leave their jobs and, in some cases, the country, leaving behind a void that is difficult to fill. The remaining workers are often overworked and under immense stress, trying to keep up with the demands of their jobs while living in constant fear of deportation. John Smith, a hospitality industry analyst, explains, "The new deportation policies have exacerbated the labor gap. Hotels and restaurants are struggling to find enough staff, leading to increased operational costs and reduced services." He adds that the long-term effects could be even more severe, with some businesses potentially facing closure if the labor shortage continues. The industry is already seeing a decline in service quality, which could drive customers away and further hurt business. Sarah Johnson, a hotel manager in New York, shared her experience. "We've had to close off several floors of our hotel because we simply don't have enough staff to clean and maintain the rooms. It's been a real struggle to keep up with the demand." She notes that the reduced capacity has led to a significant loss in revenue, making it difficult to cover operational costs. The situation has also affected the hotel's reputation, as guests are often dissatisfied with the limited services available. Restaurant owner Carlos Martinez echoed these sentiments. "Our restaurant has seen a significant drop in business because we can't serve as many customers as we used to. The labor shortage has forced us to reduce our hours and limit our menu options." He explains that the reduced hours have not only affected the restaurant's revenue but also the livelihoods of the remaining staff, who are now working fewer hours and earning less money. The uncertainty has made it difficult to plan for the future, and many business owners are worried about the sustainability of their operations. Maria Lopez, a hospitality worker, expressed her fears. "Every day, I worry about my future. The constant threat of deportation makes it hard to focus on my job. Many of my colleagues have already left and it's getting harder to keep up with the workload." She shares that the stress and anxiety have taken a toll on her mental health, making it difficult to perform her duties effectively. The fear of being separated from her family adds to the emotional burden, making it a daily struggle to stay motivated and productive. The climate of fear and uncertainty has not only affected the workers, but also the overall morale within the industry. Many employees are anxious about their future, which has led to decreased productivity and increased turnover rates. The constant turnover has made it difficult for businesses to maintain a stable workforce, further impacting their ability to provide consistent and high-quality service. The overall atmosphere in many workplaces has become tense and stressful, affecting both employees and customers. Industry experts warn that the long-term impact of these policies could be devastating. If the labor shortage continues, we could see a significant number of businesses closing down, says John Smith. The hospitality sector is a major contributor to the economy, and its decline could have far-reaching consequences. He emphasizes that the loss of jobs and businesses could lead to a ripple effect, impacting other sectors and the overall economic stability of the country. The potential for widespread business closures and job losses is a serious concern that needs to be addressed urgently. Policy analyst Emily Davis suggests that comprehensive immigration reform is needed to address these issues. We need to find a balance between enforcing immigration laws and ensuring that industries like hospitality have access to the labor they need to thrive. She argues that a more balanced approach could help alleviate the labor shortage while still addressing the concerns of immigration enforcement. Davis believes that a collaborative effort between the government, businesses, and communities is essential to finding a sustainable solution. Maria Lopez agrees. I hope that the government can find a solution that allows us to work without fear. We contribute so much to this country, and we just want the chance to do our jobs and support our families. She highlights the contributions of immigrant workers to the economy and the importance of recognizing their value. Lopez believes that a fair and just immigration policy would not only benefit workers, but also strengthen the overall economy by ensuring that businesses have the labor they need to succeed. As the hospitality sector continues to navigate these challenges, the need for a balanced and fair approach to immigration policy becomes increasingly clear. The future of the industry and the livelihoods of countless workers depend on it. The path forward requires thoughtful consideration and collaboration to create policies that support both the enforcement of immigration laws and the needs of vital industries. Only through such a balanced approach can we ensure a stable and prosperous future for the hospitality sector and the many people who rely on it for their livelihoods. Welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we're taking an in-depth look at the agriculture industry in the United States under President Donald Trump, specifically focusing on how his administration's immigration policies, especially the massive deportation of workers, impacted this crucial sector. First, it's important to understand just how critical immigrant labor is to the agricultural industry. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation, over 50% of farm workers in the U.S. are foreign-born, with many being undocumented. In some states like California, the numbers are even higher, sometimes upwards of 70%. These workers are essential to the planting, harvesting, and processing of crops. When Donald Trump became president, his administration took an aggressive stance on immigration. His signature policy, building a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border, was just the tip of the iceberg. His administration also enacted a series of policies designed to crack down on illegal immigration, ramping up deportations of undocumented individuals.
We tried everything we could, raised wages, extended working hours, and even provided additional training to attract more workers. Offered benefits, but the workers we depended on were simply gone. The labor shortage hit us harder than we ever imagined. The crops were left unharvested and it was devastating. Fields that once thrived with activity now stood eerily silent. Some of our fields had to be plowed under because there weren't enough hands to gather the crops. It felt like watching months of hard work go to waste.
The immediate impact was stark. The absence of workers was felt in every corner of the farm. When workers were detained or deported, farms found themselves with gaping labor shortages. The ripple effect was felt throughout the entire agricultural sector. Crops that needed harvesting were left in the fields, unable to be picked in time, resulting in millions of dollars in lost produce. The economic impact was severe, affecting not just the farmers but the entire supply chain. While the labor shortage affected nearly every sector of agriculture, some industries were hit harder than others. Let's take a look at a few examples. Although the initial impacts were devastating, the agriculture industry began to adapt. In some areas, farms raised wages, offered benefits, and even recruited workers from non-immigrant communities. But these measures were not enough to fill the void left by the deportations. The labor shortage in agriculture also had significant political and economic consequences. The farming community became increasingly vocal about the impact of Trump's policies. Many farmers and agricultural workers advocated for immigration reform and a path to citizenship for those already working in the country. With the election of President Joe Biden in 2020, the political landscape shifted. While Biden promised to reverse some of Trump's hardline immigration policies, the challenges remain. While some deportation measures were eased and protections for immigrant workers were expanded, many issues in the agriculture industry are still unresolved. In the end, President Trump's immigration policies left a lasting mark on the U.S. agricultural industry. These policies, which aimed to tighten borders and reduce the number of undocumented immigrants, had far-reaching consequences that rippled through the farming communities across the nation. While the labor shortages and economic losses were significant, they also sparked a nationwide conversation about the importance of immigration reform. Farmers and agricultural workers found themselves at the forefront of this debate, highlighting the critical role that immigrant labor plays in sustaining the agricultural sector. The challenges faced by the industry underscored how essential immigrant labor is to this country's food system. Without these workers, many farms struggled to harvest their crops, leading to increased food prices and reduced availability of fresh produce. This situation brought to light the interconnectedness of immigration policies and food security. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest videos. Your engagement helps us continue to bring important stories to light and foster meaningful discussions. We'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you think immigration policies should evolve to support industries like agriculture? The future of our food system depends on finding balanced solutions that address both security concerns and the needs of the agricultural workforce. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your input is valuable and can contribute to shaping a more informed and inclusive dialogue around this critical issue. Thank you for watching. In 2025, President Trump introduced a new wave of deportation policies aimed at undocumented immigrants. These policies were part of a broader strategy to address illegal immigration, which had been a contentious issue for many years. The administration argued that these measures were necessary to uphold the rule of law and protect American jobs. However, the implementation of these policies had far-reaching consequences that extended beyond the immediate goal of reducing the number of undocumented immigrants in the country. These policies had a profound impact on the agriculture industry, which was already struggling with labor shortages. The agriculture sector relies heavily on immigrant labor, with many workers being undocumented. The sudden removal of a significant portion of the workforce created a vacuum that could not be easily filled. Farmers found themselves in a dire situation, unable to harvest their crops and maintain their operations. The ripple effects of this labor shortage were felt throughout the entire supply chain, from the fields to the grocery stores. The new deportation measures led to an even greater scarcity of workers, exacerbating the challenges faced by farmers. With fewer hands to tend to the crops, many farms saw a significant decline in productivity. This not only affected the farmers' livelihoods, but also had a broader economic impact. The reduced output led to higher prices for consumers and increased pressure on the remaining workers, who had to take on more responsibilities to keep the farms running. Many farms were forced to scale back their operations or shut down entirely due to the lack of available labor. The sight of abandoned farm equipment and empty greenhouses became all too common in rural areas. The closure of these farms had a devastating effect on local communities, leading to job losses and economic decline. Small towns that depended on agriculture as their main source of income were particularly hard hit, with many residents facing financial uncertainty and hardship. The economic impact was severe, with millions of dollars in lost produce and increased costs for remaining workers. Unsold produce piled up, leading to significant financial losses for farmers. The scarcity of labor also meant that those who remained had to be paid higher wages, further straining the already tight budgets of agricultural businesses. The combination of lost revenue and increased expenses created a perfect storm that many farms could not weather. As we reflect on these events, it becomes clear that such policies not only disrupt industries, but also affect the lives of countless individuals and families. The human cost of these measures is often overlooked in the broader political debate. Families were torn apart, with many facing the heart-wrenching decision of whether to stay together and face deportation or separate in hopes of finding a more stable future. Community meetings became a common sight as people came together to support one another and find ways to cope with the new reality. The long-term consequences of these policies are still being felt today, as the agriculture industry continues to grapple with the fallout. The labor shortages have not been fully resolved, and many farms are still struggling to find enough workers to operate at full capacity. Interviews with farmers reveal a deep sense of frustration and uncertainty about the future. The sight of idle farm machinery serves as a stark reminder of the ongoing challenges faced by the industry. However, this period also offers valuable lessons for the future. It highlights the need for comprehensive immigration reform that takes into account the realities of the labor market and the essential role that immigrant workers play in our economy. Policy meetings and brainstorming sessions among agricultural experts and farmers have become more frequent, as stakeholders seek to develop sustainable solutions that can prevent such crises in the future. It's a call to action for policymakers, industry leaders, and the public to work together in crafting sustainable and humane immigration policies that support both economic growth and human dignity. The collaboration between lawmakers and the agricultural community is crucial in developing policies that are both effective and compassionate. Community meetings that bring together diverse groups of people are essential in fostering understanding and cooperation. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the intricate relationship between immigration policies and the agriculture industry. We hope that this exploration has provided you with a deeper understanding of the complexities involved and the importance of thoughtful policymaking. The stories and experiences shared here are a testament to the resilience and determination of those affected by these policies. Your engagement and understanding are crucial as we navigate these complex issues. By staying informed and participating in the conversation, you can help shape a more just and equitable future. The discussions and debates that take place in our communities are vital in driving change and ensuring that the voices of those most affected are heard. Don't forget to share your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. Your feedback and perspectives are invaluable in enriching the dialogue and finding solutions that work for everyone. Social media platforms and online forums provide a space for these important conversations to take place, allowing for a diverse range of voices to be heard. Together, we can build a better, more inclusive future for everyone. By working hand in hand, we can create a society that values and respects the contributions of all its members. The strength of our communities lies in our ability to come together and support one another, regardless of our differences. Let's continue to strive for a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're discussing a topic that's both strategic and critical for U.S. military preparedness in the event of a major war. What happens when the U.S. Army's access to key resources like tungsten, a major input for manufacturing ammunition, is threatened by countries that aren't exactly on friendly terms with the U.S. Countries like China, Russia, and certain EU nations hold significant control over tungsten reserves. So what does that mean for the U.S. military's capacity during a time of crisis, particularly under the Trump administration? Let's break it all down. Before we dive into the geopolitical aspect, let's understand why tungsten is so important. Tungsten is a dense metal with an extremely high melting point, making it ideal for creating durable and heat-resistant components. It's critical for manufacturing a wide range of military hardware, including ammunition, armor-piercing projectiles, and various weaponry. Without tungsten, many of the military's most powerful munitions simply wouldn't exist. Whether it's tank shells, missiles, or small arms ammunition, tungsten plays a pivotal role in ensuring the U.S. military remains effective on the battlefield. Beyond military applications, tungsten is also essential in information technology equipment and electronic devices where its properties are used in semiconductors, circuit boards, and even light bulb filaments. Now here's where it gets tricky. While tungsten is a critical resource for the US, the global supply of tungsten is not as secure as you might think. The US has limited domestic tungsten production, and much of the world's supply is controlled by countries that don't always have the best diplomatic relations with Washington. Countries like China and Russia control a large portion of the world's tungsten reserves. China, for example, is the world's largest producer, responsible for nearly 80% of the global supply. Russia also holds significant reserves, and there are some EU countries such as Portugal that produce tungsten as well. Here's the catch. If the US is in a conflict or a major war, and tensions escalate with any of these nations, it could have serious consequences for access to tungsten. If a war broke out, the US could face disruptions in supply chains or even embargoes on tungsten exports, severely limiting the military's ability to produce key ammunition and weaponry. Think about it. In the case of a prolonged conflict, the US would need to replenish its ammunition supplies constantly. Without a steady tungsten supply, the production of key munitions would slow down dramatically. This could result in increased reliance on allies, who may themselves be dealing with their own challenges in securing supplies. To mitigate the risks associated with tungsten dependency, the US must take proactive measures today. First, increasing investment in domestic tungsten mining and refining capabilities is crucial. This would reduce reliance on foreign sources and create a more secure supply chain. Second, the US should explore alternative materials that can replace tungsten in military applications. Research and development in this area could lead to innovative solutions that lessen the strategic importance of tungsten. Third, establishing strategic partnerships with allied countries that have tungsten reserves can provide a buffer in times of crisis. Lastly, stockpiling tungsten during periods of low geopolitical tension can ensure a reserve supply is available when needed. By taking these steps, the US can enhance its military readiness and reduce the vulnerability associated with tungsten supply disruptions. Now, let's talk about the geopolitical fallout. If a war broke out and the US was suddenly locked in a struggle with nations like China or Russia, the diplomatic landscape would be incredibly volatile. Diplomatic relations with these countries would likely sour even further, and the US could face economic retaliation, which could make securing tungsten even harder. Countries like China and Russia could use their control over tungsten to leverage power in negotiations, forcing the US into difficult positions. The US could respond with sanctions, but that often leads to escalation rather than resolution. So, what can the US do in this scenario? Alternative sourcing would become critical. The US could look to reinvest in domestic tungsten production or explore alternative materials for ammunition. However, these solutions take time and are not something that could be implemented overnight during a conflict. To wrap it up, tungsten is not just a metal. It's a strategic resource that plays a critical role in the US military's capabilities. If the US is caught in a major conflict and finds itself in diplomatic standoffs with countries controlling the majority of tungsten reserves, its military readiness could be severely impacted. Under the Trump administration, the focus on trade wars and diplomatic isolation could exacerbate these challenges, leaving the US scrambling for alternative solutions. What do you think? Could the US military really face a significant challenge in a major war due to tungsten supply issues, or are there other factors at play? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth looks at global military issues. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Why the United States can't be a powerful country during the regime of Trump. Historically, the US has faced challenges under various administrations, but Trump's tenure has been marked by unprecedented division. From trade wars that strained international relations to domestic policies that sparked widespread protests, the country struggled to maintain its global standing. Economic instability and a polarized society further hindered America's ability to project power on the world stage. With retail prices surging by 5% in the last year, labor costs climbing by 3%, and oil prices hitting a 5-year high of $70 per barrel, the economic strain is palpable. The diplomatic fallout from tariff wars with Canada and Mexico has further exacerbated the situation, leading to a 10% increase in import costs and strained trade relations. While tungsten, a major input needed by the US Army for manufacturing new ammunition, is in the hands of countries not in good diplomatic terms with the United States, such as China, Russia, and some EU countries, the strategic importance of tungsten cannot be overstated. It is crucial for the production of high-density ammunition and armor-piercing projectiles. The geopolitical landscape is complex, with the US heavily reliant on imports from nations with strained relations. In the event of a major war outbreak, this dependency could severely hamper the US's ability to sustain prolonged military engagements, making it vulnerable during Trump's regime. The United States' dependency on tungsten from nations with strained relations has far-reaching consequences, not just for military readiness, but also for its global standing and economic stability. Experts warn that this reliance puts the U.S. in a precarious position. Renowned geopolitical analyst Dr. Sarah Thompson points out, if the supply chains for tungsten were to be disrupted, the U.S. would face significant challenges in maintaining its military capabilities. This vulnerability could embolden adversaries and weaken alliances. Economic stability is also at stake. A sudden halt in tungsten imports could lead to a ripple effect, impacting industries beyond defense, such as aerospace and electronics. The economic repercussions could be severe, leading to job losses and a downturn in related sectors. Future outcomes remain uncertain, but policymakers are exploring alternatives, such as developing domestic sources of tungsten or seeking new trade agreements with more stable partners. However, these solutions require time and significant investment. The broader impacts of tungsten dependency are a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of global supply chains and the strategic importance of resource independence. As the U.S. navigates these challenges, its global standing and economic resilience hang in the balance. Despite the challenges faced under Trump's regime, the American spirit remains unbroken. The resilience of the American people is a testament to their strength and unity. By coming together, embracing diversity, and fostering innovation, the nation can overcome any obstacle. The future holds promise, and with collective effort, the United States can build a brighter, more inclusive tomorrow. Canada, a country known for its pristine natural beauty, rich natural resources, and peaceful diplomacy, has just taken a monumental step on the world stage. For the first time in decades, Canada can now sell its oil to just about any country in the world. But what does this mean for global politics, energy markets, and the balance of power? Canada is home to the third largest oil reserves in the world, primarily in the form of oil sands in Alberta. For years, Canada's oil production has been constrained by geography, infrastructure, and trade agreements. Historically, Canada's largest oil export partner has been the United States, with the two nations closely linked by energy trade. But now, that relationship could be shifting. Increased pipeline capacity, new infrastructure projects, and changes to international trade policies mean that Canada can now diversify its oil exports. This opens the door for Canada to send its oil anywhere, whether it's to Europe, Asia, or emerging markets. But it also means the global energy landscape will never be the same. For decades, global oil markets have been dominated by a few key players: Saudi Arabia, Russia, the United States, and other OPEC members. But Canada's newfound ability to sell oil freely to anyone puts it in direct competition with these energy giants. Canada's oil is a bit different, though. It's primarily heavy crude, which requires more complex refining. This means that the country's biggest challenge isn't just finding buyers, but finding refineries capable of processing its oil. And that could open up new geopolitical dynamics in places like Europe, which has struggled with dependency on Russian energy sources. With Canada's oil now available on the global market, Europe could see an alternative to Russian energy, especially after the fallout from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. This new option could help Europe reduce its dependence on Russian energy, and that's a major strategic win for both Canada and European nations looking for stability. The United States has long been Canada's largest and most reliable oil customer. But with Canada now able to sell oil to anyone, it begs the question, will this alter the US-Canada energy dynamic? The US may find itself in a tricky situation. While it remains a close ally of Canada, its own energy policies are evolving, with a strong focus on energy independence and reducing reliance on foreign oil. The US is also a major oil producer in its own right. So, will Canada's decision to diversify its oil exports push the two countries in different directions, or will they continue to strengthen their ties? On the other side of the Pacific, China stands as the world's largest importer of oil, and it could be one of the biggest beneficiaries of Canada's new oil flexibility. As China looks to secure long-term energy supplies, Canada's oil could play a vital role in this strategy. But selling oil to China is not without risks. Geopolitical tensions such as trade wars, human rights concerns, and the broader US-China rivalry mean that Canada could find itself caught in the middle. As Canada navigates this new market, it must balance its economic interests with its relationships with key allies. There's no denying that oil extraction, particularly from Canada's oil sands, has significant environmental impacts. As Canada ramps up its oil exports, it may face increasing domestic and international pressure to address climate change concerns. The push for renewable energy has never been stronger, and Canada's commitment to reducing its carbon footprint could be tested as it expands its oil industry. The question is, can Canada navigate this tension between economic growth and environmental responsibility? It may depend on the country's ability to innovate and embrace sustainable energy solutions. Canada's ability to sell oil to any country marks the beginning of a new era in the global energy market. It opens the door for new economic opportunities, shifts in alliances, and potential challenges that will play out on the world stage. As the geopolitical landscape continues to evolve, one thing is clear: Canada is no longer just a passive player in global oil politics, it's a key contender. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights into global politics and energy. Until next time.